Now, inserting video, this is if you upload a video to your website. But because I limit you to 500 KB, depending on the size of the video, that's like 30 seconds.
Okay.
And chances are you're going to want longer than that, and I suggest everybody go through YouTube.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go through YouTube and you do want it on your site, I can teach you a way to upload to your site directly.
Okay.
But typically, a host will charge you for about the amount of stuff that's downloaded, and the more large stuff you put on your website, the more they're going to want to charge you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just say use YouTube because that costs you nothing.
Okay.
And it's easy to insert.
Yeah, and it's already on YouTube. Yay! Mine is.
So now you can just insert a YouTube video. I don't know if you're familiar with your YouTube ID.
I'm not.
So if you go to your YouTube account and to your video, there's two ways to find it. In the browser window up at the top, in your URL address, usually it has ID equals, I think YouTube calls them KIDs or ZIDs or something like that.
Okay.
It says I think it's KID equals, and then it starts with the letter Z. I'm trying to remember. It might be reversed to that.
Okay.
The ones I've seen started with like Z's and had all this numbers, and it's about 12 characters long.
Okay.
So you just need that ID number all the way up until the next ampersand.
Okay.
Or I don't know if your page itself tells you what your ID number is, but it also has copy this code to embed it in there. It'll have the ID in there as well.
Okay.
You just kind of have to browse for it, and if you have trouble finding it, let me know.
Okay.
I'll help you out. And then for the width and the height, you can set the width and the height of your video, and then you just hit insert, and it's that easy.
Okay.
And boom, your YouTube
cool.
video's
so
in
that's
there.
where I make it bigger, like on that front page. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And you could make it bigger. Let's say you make it this wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goes across here, and then you can insert text on the right. Right?
So is that? Let's see. How do I know how big it is compared to where my web page is? Is it
That's where you'd have to start previewing it.
just preview it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically, what I would do is I'd go to this menu and I'd say, let's save this before we do anything. So then we have something in there to look at, and then you can preview the garage organizers page. Really got to figure out why my computer does pop-up windows so slow.
I guarantee it's my.
And this image was larger than the dimensions. What happens is this header image gets stretched, and because this one that I just happened to throw in there is taller, it'll make it taller. Which gets covered up by everything, but say if we'd loaded this image when there was nothing in here, it would have shown up behind this footer text.
Okay.
So you have to be careful that you get the dimensions right, but if you make them too large, typically it'll disappear and you won't see it. It won't be a problem. So then, if you notice, this is where our text and our image show up, and you have this much space, right? And then you're going to start bleeding over here. If on your page editor you create something that wide, it will show up that wide on this website.
Okay.
Right? And if you had a side menu, you'd have to worry about bleeding over onto the side menu too.
Okay.
So the way my code's set up, it'll just run them right into each other. So you got to be careful.
Okay.
So typically preview.
So previews.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's roughly this far, and I'll show you a trick to keep yourself limited.
Okay.
And that'll come up right here, that button.
Okay.
Iframe. An iframe, it's kind of an interesting concept, if you don't know what it is a page within a page. So you can say, let's click here and say, oh, I want to insert another page here. This is similar to our link menu, but you could type in Google, and you could insert Google in the inside of your own page. The reason why I really put this here is because one person wanted a page where they had all this information, and they wanted a contact us form at the bottom, and when they hit submit, they didn't want the whole page to reload. They just wanted the little window to reload. So what you could do is you have this drop down, and you could pick form or items. These items apply to anybody who's got a shopping cart or purchase online, online purchases through their website. That's built into your database. I don't have it in your menu. I'll just delete it out of your database when I update everything else. But you can select the form, and you can decide how big you want it. Let's say 400 pixels wide. and we'll do 300 pixels tall. And you can tell it if it needs to have scrolling, yes or no, or auto. If you made it too small, let's say no. Border, yeah, let's put a border on it. Automatically resize, yeah, let's do that. And then this text applies to the asterisk right here. Must be unique value for resizing to work. So if you had 3 or 4 of them on one page, you need to name them all something different.
Okay.
So otherwise resizing will only work for the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then the little cross T thing means only works for pages within your domain. So it won't resize Google within your window.
Right.
So let me show you an example of how this would work. So let's do a 40 by 30, so it's ridiculously small. Right. So now, see how teeny tiny that is? And you can't even see anything in it. Let's hit save. And you don't see it do anything here. It won't do anything. That's for editing purposes. But then when we refresh over here, it'll pop in, and give it a second to reload. Oh, sorry. This menu, when you hit save, it'll draw attention to itself when it's done. So it'll copy you back. But what it did is now you have your form, your contact us form, inside of your other page. And if people fill this out and hit submit, just this little window with this box around it will submit.
Okay.
And nothing else will. And if you remove that border, it'll look like it fits right into the middle of the page. You wouldn't even have to worry about it.
Okay.
So if you have a need to insert that on a page, it's one way you could do it without
Okay.
rearranging things too much.